If you can get the hang of using color gels to change the background color in your videos, then you could use color anywhere. It's really not that hard, and it's actually a lot of fun. You just have to understand a few basic principles. I'm going to break down color effect gels for you, talk about the two main uses of them in video, and I'm going to show you how to pick between these hundreds of colors that are available.
If you like this video, please subscribe and click that little bell for notifications when we release a new video.
Welcome to Pull My Focus, adventures in the world of digital filmmaking, where we give you the inside tips you need to make great video. We're going to break down color effect gels and their use in video lighting. But first we need to be clear about what white light is, that is light with no color. In order to do that, we need to talk about color correcting and color effect gels. Color correcting gels are used to make non-white light white. Now, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean non-white light? Well, here's the crazy thing. All light has a color to it. It's just that our eyes auto white balance for it. It's measured on a scale called Kelvin, in Kelvin degrees, and the daylight is high up on there on the blue area, 5,000 to 5,500 degrees Kelvin. Our other predominant type of light, tungsten, is on the lower end in the yellow-orange, and that's 2,800 to 3,200 degrees Kelvin. So this is why we have to set the white balance of our cameras to the predominant light that we're using, and generally that's going to be daylight or tungsten. They're so predominant they even have their own icons. So color correcting gels like CTO, color temperature orange, and CTB, color temperature blue, will move lights on those color scale. CTO will take blue, move it down to tungsten if your camera was set for that, and vice versa. We made a video on color correcting gels where we go into a lot more detail into their use and white balance. But for this video, because we're talking about color effect, I've got my camera set at daylight white balance, and I'm only using daylight balanced bulbs and daylight that's coming in my window. We're going to keep it simple by using 1 Kelvin temperature light source. Color effect gels, on the other hand, make white light a color. Instead of color correcting them and making them white, they go in the opposite direction and allow us to turn any light into any color of the rainbow that we want. There are two main uses for color effect gels in video. One is to create an emotional or aesthetic effect, and the other is to simulate a real-world light, sort of like that yellow-orange early morning sunrise, or that deep blue moonlight coming through a window. In this video, we're just focusing on the emotional aesthetic use of color effect gels. So we want to put a color light on our background. One color is fine, but we notice that it's not as bright as the bare light was. Well, that's because a color gel, in order to work, has to absorb the other colors in the rainbow in order to give you that color. It's called a subtractive effect. So blue is absorbing red and green. Now, the lighter a gel, the more light it lets through, and the more pastel the color. The stronger the gel color, the less light it lets through. That is, it's absorbing more colors of the rainbow, but you're getting a more saturated and truer color. Gel manufacturers refer to this as the transmission value of the gel, how much of the original light the gel will transmit, allow through. So you need to keep this in mind if you're using very strong gels, as you may need to get a higher wattage light to get the light level in the background that you want. What if we want to get creative and add a second light with a different gel color? How do we choose what color? Let's look at color theory for some help. You've probably heard of the color wheel. You've probably heard other terms like complementary colors, primary and secondary colors, and color schemes. Now, when I've heard that, it's mostly been referring to the world of painting and mixing colors. So how does it apply to video? Well, here's how. Complementary colors on the opposite side of each other on the color wheel. Orange, blue, red, green, yellow, purple. This means they're so opposite that they don't share any color hues at all, unlike red and yellow, which do because they're right next to each other. Choose any color on the color wheel and you can find its opposite. Being opposites, they have the maximum amount of color contrast. We play with contrast with our light levels in video lighting, but usually we're thinking about, bright to dark with shades of gray in between, with white and black being the max contrast. Well, you can create contrast with color as well. By using opposites, we can create a lot of contrast and vibrancy and excitement. So we see it with obviously a bright white wall and a dark black shadow. Well, we do the same with color using these opposite colors. They intensify each other to the human eye and create that vibrancy. And they can also create tension. Hence the name complementary colors. Now it makes sense because I was always trying to figure out why in the world are they complementary? They're on opposite sides. Oh, now I get it. Now we see this in the real world with warm morning sun against a blue sky or late evening sun reflected on the blue ocean. The red and greens used during Christmas time. The yellow and purple in a flower. If complementary colors are opposites and have therefore the maximum amount of color contrast, what about colors that are right next to each other, like the red and orange I mentioned earlier? Can we use those? You sure can. They have the least amount of color contrast because they share some of the same color hues and are called analogous, and they create a calming effect. There are many other color schemes like triadic and quadratic, and too many to go into here, but it's a great place to research. Looking at color theory and how they use it in the art world is a great place to start to look for color schemes and combinations that could work for your shot. One tool I like to use is Paladin.com. It's what I was using for this video, and it's a great way to look at these different color schemes. You can set them and just start spinning around and finding great stuff. It's very useful. Now, using these online tools, they'll give you the RGB value, the red, green, blue value of combo color of colors, right, that make up this color that you like. So why not use that RGB value to go find the gels you want to use, right? Well, can't do that. The reason is remember earlier how I talked about white light and color correcting gels? Well, different light sources will give you different hues with these color effect gels. So it's not an exact science. So how do gaffers and lighting directors do it? Well, they do it by eye and experience. What I recommend is getting the gel swatch books from the two major manufacturers, Lee and Rosco. And you can use those with light to see, is this going to give me the color that I'm looking for? They also make gel packs, particularly Rosco, color effect with color correcting gels or just color effect gels, so that you could get one of these packs, and it's a great place to start. If you have a camera or video equipment store near you, usually they sell single sheets, and generally those are the full sheets. They're almost, I think they're 22 by 22 inches, like almost 2 by 2 feet. And those are perfect to wrap around barn doors on a light. Neewer makes a more affordable gel pack. They're smaller and very thick. They're a little bit hard to use. They're not heat resistant, but they're affordable and they're a great place to start. And it's some of the gels I'm using to play around with on this video. Shoot tests. I did a bunch for this video, playing around with different colors, different light levels in the background. Seeing is believing, and what you see on the small monitor might not be the same when you get it into your edit. So I would say shoot a test, bring it into your editing program, do whatever the basic color work you might do, where that is balancing and whatnot. If I don't think the color is deep enough, I'll double up or even triple up on the gel. Or the opposite, if it's too deep, if I don't have a lighter gel version of that color, then I'll just use a higher wattage bulb or up the dimmer. I like to use dimmable light sources with gels because now I'm taking light away and I want to be able to adjust the different colors against each other. I use spotlights. I'm using LED pars here to create these spots on the background. You can use soft lights as well, but I find spots are really great to give me a good solid area of that color on the background. When aiming your lights, if you're using more than one color, you'll notice that they'll cross over and mix and blend between the two. If you like it, great, if it works for your shot. If not, pan one of the colors, one of the lights off, and you'll see a dark band start to form between the two lights. Thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful. If it was, don't forget to check out our other video on color correcting gels, CTO and CTB, and white balance, and also our videos on color correcting and color grading in the edit.